Yes, start.
ओके वेलकम टू नेशन स्टेट डायलॉग सीरीज राष्ट्र राज्य संवाद श्रृंखला में आपका स्वागत है 欢迎收看民族国家对话系列 I am Dr. Geeta Kochar, moderator for today's discussion, and it's going to be a very interesting discussion because we have two very interesting persons, China scholars who have lived in China, experienced China, know Chinese very well, and have been doing a lot of research and teaching in Chinese, and Kalathi is doing in Tamil. So we have Dr. Snehal Ajit Ulman and Dr. Kalathi Veeraswamy. Welcome to this show. Namaskar. So Snehal is currently an assistant professor in Sikkim University, and he is fluent in Mandarin Chinese, of course, and he's teaching Chinese here and has a PhD from JNU, from the Chinese Center. He was in China from 2012 to 2013 for his advanced studies. And Dr. Kalathi is also an assistant professor, but in Savita College. He has a PhD in Tamil from JNU and did a very interesting comparison of Tamil and Chinese literature. He also did his advanced studies in Chinese language from China from 2016 and 2017. And the most interesting part is that he was an assistant professor in Tamil department in Beijing Foreign Studies program in Beijing, China from 2018 to 2021, where he developed courses to teach the Chinese students Tamil language. So I'm sure we are going to have a lot of insights from both of them about China, them, the psyche of the Chinese, what they think about India and everything. So let's start about this from Dr. Snehal. How was your experience with China and with the Chinese people in general? Let's start from there.
Okay. Thank you very much for this. Having this live stream so that we can connect with many more people. Uh, with regard to your question, I went to China in 2012. That was for my Chinese language course. And when I reached China, like I was very unsure that how would I connect with others and how would I reach my university. I did send some mails to the university regarding the pickup time and all. However, when I reached there, there was a delay in the flight. So, I was really afraid. But the good thing is that the connectivity was very good. So I just had to find which bus goes to the university stop, and the people there were really helpful. I asked them in Chinese, and they were ready to help actually, and they even handhold me and took me to the bus. Okay, come here. This is the bus. You take this bus, and you'll reach a place. From there, you'll have to take a taxi or walk for 10 minutes or so. And in fact, you know that in 2012 we were not too we are not using all those new apps, Google Maps and all. Anyway, Google did not work in China. So connectivity per se within China is very good, but outside things don't work there. So we were just trying to understand how to get to the university, trying to ask people. And fortunately, I met a lady. She was a student of the university, and she was the one asking, "Do you want to go to Harshrita?" I said, "What is Harshrita?" "Oh, Harshrita is Harpin Shrifantashe." "Oh, okay. So that is the name which everyone calls it, Harshrita." And then said, "Yes." So she was the one who took me to the hostel, to the international students hostel, and she was very helpful. She gave her number and said, if you need anything, you can always call her up, and for any kind of help and all. So it was a very friendly interaction. It was a different feeling. We did not expect all this in a foreign country. So as far as I can understand, I was not in the capital. I was in Harbin. It's the northeast city. It borders the state that borders Russia, and very friendly people. I would this was my first interaction, very friendly people. They were very helpful, and it's a different feeling which you did not we did not expect this to happen. So that was there. However, there are certain restrictions. Yes, just as I was saying, we couldn't use Google and other services there, and even my SIM card was not working. So there was no such plan or something to get the Airtel SIM card working over there. Right now, if you go today, I think Airtel readily works there. You just have to have your SIM. And these were some restrictions in terms of the connectivity for outsiders. The Chinese themselves had some restrictions visiting the international students hostel, but overall we were not restricted to go anywhere. So I have been to our friends hostels, uh, and very interesting, like once a Chinese had a fight with our receptionist, the international hostel receptionist. Why are you not allowing us to go there? This was the fight they had, the Chinese had with themselves, trying to get into the hostel. But then it was somewhat, the person was not allowed to enter. But then that's the thing. Maybe they didn't want us to interact with the Chinese students. But outside there was no such restriction. So I feel that it was for them not to enter the international students hostel. That was the only restriction I feel was there.
So, I mean, I'm very inquisitive about knowing two things from you. Like you said, you got down, and because there was nobody to, pick you up, and because you could communicate in Chinese language, I think you did not find much of a problem. Had it been that you didn't know the language at all before, proceeding, would you have faced similar, kind of kindness from the Chinese? And also that you said, the Chinese were not allowed to enter into the international students building, and there were restrictions for them to enter into your building. So I mean, I'm a little surprised, because you are saying about 2012, which is like more than 3 decades after the opening up of China, 3-4 decades actually. And yet you find there are restrictions which the Chinese impose of Chinese students interacting with the foreign students.
Right. So if I didn't know Chinese, rather, then I wouldn't have been able to find a way to get to my university. That is one thing I feel, because most of the people didn't understand English. This is what I can say.
Hmm.
So yes, you need some basic understanding of the language. You need to speak a bit of Chinese language. And I feel that because we were trying to speak Chinese language, the people were more interested to talk to you. If I
Hmm.
would have been speaking English, rather, it would have been difficult for them to understand me, and I don't think they would have that interest to help me out, because they wouldn't understand me at all what I required. So that is one thing that I think you are correct about it.
So let's move to Kalathi. Dr. Kalathi, you also, I mean, you went a little later than Dr. Snail went. So what was your, experience going to China? And because you didn't know so much of Chinese when you went to China, so how did you manage with them? Did you face similar issues, or how did you like China? And what did you do in China in general?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this, great live streaming. More people know about what is in my experience. So I started my journey in 2016 from JNU. So I pre- before that I learn more about like Lushun and Chinese literature, something like that.
Mm,
But
mm,
knowledge, I have limited knowledge about
mm,
Chinese language. So when I arrived that airport, they have actually the Chinese generally they are helpful, and they
mm,
said that I want to go to that university. That that then they helped, and then I moved to that international office.
mm,
Throughout that all that period, they are helped actually. In international office, there are some Chinese students. Actually, particularly there are Chinese students. They are helping to the international students, like not only with the Asian, African, all this. They are helped, and they are that the same day they allocated the dormitory and everything they done. And see, that is my 16 to 17. I was a student, and 2018 to 21, I'm a teacher, like assistant professor in Beijing Foreign Studies. There are two different knowledge and experience. Yes, ma'am. When I was student, I have very to discuss with our Laoshe, and there is very limited the discussion and everything. But when I sit like a teacher, teacher, I need to interact more with the Chinese student. Particularly, I'm teaching the Chinese student. So and that students also have more interest about particularly Tamil language. Actually, they have knowledge. They know about what they are going to study before that.
Okay.
So they yes, ma'am. Yes. So
I
in
mean,
that sense, continue.
So I mean to say that you were already, like, there were people who were already assigned to pick you up from the airport and take you to the hostel and do all your formalities. So you were not like facing a problem because you don't know the language. It didn't happen like that, right?
No, ma'am. See, even also like if there is a people, but in my enthusiastic, I used to generally talk with the people how to go there, and I'll show. If I don't know the language, I'll show that that Google Translation or something like that. So there is no difficulties when I was in that journey.
But I think because Kalathi only went to Beijing, so still you have traveled a lot in China, in different cities, and I mean, you were staying in Heilongjiang, which is not the Tier 1 city, and then you must have gone to Beijing or maybe even to Shanghai or other cities which are Tier 1. How different did you find the culture, or the different dialects that influence the people, and what was different among the different tier cities and the different people?
Okay, so well, to say broadly, I feel that in North China, people are use very are much use a much coarser language and a strong and overpowering tone that they use in North China. And while in South China, people are mostly soft spoken, and that also translate in terms of the cities. So I think Beijing and Shanghai are much exposed cities. So many people come there, many tourists come there, and they stay there. So when I traveled to Beijing and Shanghai, not many people were that interested to talk to someone like me, or maybe even some other foreigners. I'm not sure about what they would feel, but I felt that no one was interested to even ask from where I was. Only a few, rather, one or two people from some alley where they are selling some paos or chows. So they were the only ones who even asked, where are you from? That's it, nothing
So
else. Or
is it that you think because you look like more like you are an Indian, so you look not more like a white people or white person? Because I saw that many of the Chinese would run for any white person, like from America, from Australia, from Europe. Was that the reason, or you feel generally they were not interested in foreigners?
I did not notice much about others, so I am not sure, but that may be a reason. Which, from what I understand, with my interaction with many of my Indian friends, they did say that such a behavior was seen. So, because I was in Beijing for a short time, I did not feel that much of a, because my interaction was also not that great. You can say I was rather a tourist, not a student, going around and interacting with people. But then the same, if you talk about harp in the city where I was, people were really, they used to interact with me. They used to ask which country are you from, and when I used to say India, they used to, oh yes, you're from India, so there are these songs Avara Who and whatnot. So they used to quote Raj Kapoor and all. They knew so many movies and all, and they were very happy. They used to say you can sing and dance and all this stuff. So they were very, they used to interact very joyfully. They used to interact with me. In fact, a very different thing that I saw was that there was a student who was there in the university, and I think she was very young. She had just joined the university, and once we met outside, we were having pauza or something, and she was trying to ask me whether she could touch my hair and feel what those hair are. So these wavy curly hair, I was stunned, right? Why are you asking this? What's there in this hair? uh, Many people in India would not like such kind of hair, right? It was so embarrassing for me also. I'm not sure she wasn't embarrassed at all. She wanted to have that feeling or something. It was a huge embarrassment for me also. But then I did not say anything. Uh, this is something different, which I think we would not see in Beijing or Shanghai. In Shanghai, I came across a few tourists on my, when I was going here, and there was some boys who were tourists, and we then traveled together to a remote location where there were, I think it is Shijiazhuang or some place. I am forgetting the name. It's the Venice of China. And so there were boats. So we traveled together. They were also very happy, but they were not from Shanghai. They were
Hmm.
from some other tier 2, tier 3 cities, and so they were very friendly. But with Shanghai people, I think I couldn't interact much because they did not stop and ask me anything as a foreigner.
Hmm.
So this is my
So,
experience.
so traditionally, you are saying Chinese are very inquisitive about the foreigners, and especially let me tell to the viewers, I mean, these songs like the Raj Kapoor, songs or all the old songs basically were, because India-Russia relations, India-Soviet Union relations, I should say, were very close, and they had a lot of influence of Bollywood songs and movies at that time, and Raj Kapoor became a rage in Soviet Union, and that translated and transferred to the northern parts of northern and northeastern parts of China. I think because Snell was also there, could have been an experience from coming from there, and many of the Chinese now know about this. It's very common knowledge for them, and now of course the new songs are becoming popular, like what is the song, which is very rage in China now. I mean
The
the
Bhangra
Jimmy
songs and
Jimmy,
all. Yeah, Jimmy,
yeah,
Jimmy, Jimmy, Aja.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Jimmy Aja, and all of those,
yeah,
the Mithun Chakravarti kinds of era of songs. But let's
yeah.
move to Dr. Kalathi. I mean, your experience could have been different because you definitely did not look like the white Americans or Europeans. So, and especially because you were staying in Beijing, which is like a tier one city, very advanced, very heterogeneous, where all foreigners were coming and going. Did you still feel some kind of different experience as, culturally they were quite inquisitive about you, or they were, you know, racist in any sense, discriminating because you did not look that white or whatever, or you were Indian? How was your experience in that?
Yes, of course, ma'am. Like I continue with Snegal's experience. So when Chinese see about like see the Indians, they just touch their eyes and air. I had
Hmm.
many experiences. So I used to
Hmm.
travel in metro or bus. I just take the bus and then go somewhere. So they'll say, "Hey, you are from no, Induran." Yes, I say Induran. So they said like, "Okay, you are just like eyes is big eyes and air." And
Hmm.
like my wife, when we are both traveling in metro or even market, a supermarket or vegetable market, and we will go to the rural market also to buy vegetables. And actually, even the old people and the young generation, They come and
Hmm.
see my wife's eyes. Actually, they touch actually. See, you have tall hair. That's why we see. My
Yeah.
wife said, "Hey, why they are touching like that? Like same, like snaggle. We don't have that experience in India, but they
Hmm.
have actually. They see and they're just looking very differently about like in our space, body, everything. And
Hmm.
actually, I traveled to Shanghai, Hanan, like Shaolin Temple, and Ningxia, and in nearby provinces also, ma'am. So
Hmm.
when we are traveling to all the places, and they will see actually, like you are from Indurance, then they will ask the next question. Indurance non-parents like like South Indian or North Indian. So we'll say
Hmm.
it's South Indian. Okay, okay. So and they want to know something about, like as I said, like particularly food. Actually, they'll ask
Hmm.
about food. They'll, like, we have that different like curries, like masala, something like that, and they'll ask about Bollywood also. And I didn't feel sometimes they will look actually. That's a different looking. As is
Hmm.
Indian, they'll like Snehal doesn't have the problem, but it's not problem. Actually, they will. We are like I'm like little Indian. They'll say, okay, this is Indian person. So they will notice and they will talk with them. But and they actually they have that knowledge, ma'am. Ah.
Hmm. So, very interesting thing about my interactions with some of the Chinese journalists who have been writing about India from 90s onwards, I'm talking about, not now. So from 90s to 2000, I have commonly heard this one phrase from the Chinese, which is "Hey Poluccio." I mean, Indians, they categorize as "Hey Poluccio." Basically, they are very dark and very, so it's basically a negative connotation that which is very racist, and they keep using that term of saying that the Indians are very black and they are very dirty, and they find it very hard to interact with Indians, and many of them even spoke about when they are in India, they're traveling in India. Among the Indians, they find it, it's a strange smell that they feel. I mean, of course, we have not ever talked about it because, I mean, my experience personally has also been that when I'm with the Chinese, and because they're eating a lot of garlic and everything, and they used to take bath in almost once in a month. I think Snail would know that better because Heilongjiang is really really cold, where they would take bath once in a month, and so they have a strange smell. But I mean, none of these Chinese really talk about that because they don't feel that is a smell. But once they come to India, they feel all the the sweat because of the heat is really dirty, and the way they eat food is very dirty. Did you find that in in China, Snail? I mean, how was your experience about that?
Yes, we did have the shops over there and everywhere. We used to have this smell. I didn't feel anyone talking to me like this, that you are having a smell, because I feel that I myself used to take bath almost every day. My roommate was also the same. He was from Russia, but he used to take bath for almost half an hour. So there's no complaining about all that stuff.
Mm,
But yes, I did notice that there was stalls selling chow tofu. I
mhm.
Because of the smell itself, I could never go there and have.
So, so,
Despite so many people, yeah, so
so
many
for
people
our
used to
viewers,
tell me it's very tasty. You should have it, but I could never.
uh,
Yeah, chow tofu is the stinky tofu.
yes,
Yeah,
I mean, I was just trying to explain to our viewers, cho tofu is basically a stinky, tofu, basically like a, paneer which has gone rotten. But it's not paneer, it's made from soya, but it is like a
yes.
paneer which has gone rotten. And it's when you cook it, it's really, really stinking. You can, from 3 meters, you can feel that smell. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, right. And even the shops, actually, if we talk about that stinky tofu or the soya paneer, it
Mhm.
is actually very tasty. This is what everyone says, and you cannot deny so many people saying that it is not tasty. That it's just the smell that is the problem. Also, I did visit a few fruit shops there, and I just entered the fruit shop, and it was smelling so horribly that I didn't buy anything. I just left. Now, after a few years, I understood the smell was of durian. It's a fruit, durian fruit, and that smell is, yes, it's a very problematic smell. But I had never eaten that fruit, and that is why we always say it's wrong to judge a book by its cover, right? Because the fruit is so tasty, which I had first for the first time in Singapore. That fruit I had first time in Singapore in 2019 or so. And after that, I loved it. It's very expensive. Yes, it's very expensive. In China, it was very cheap, you can say, because many Chinese eat it. It is very creamy, and it's more tastier than, we can say, mango. We never in Singapore, actually, due to the smell, it is banned from being taken into public transport. And also, if you buy the fruit, you have to walk home. These are some rules that are laid down over there. But in China, there were no such restrictions. So anywhere you used to go, someone has carrying durian, maybe that smell is coming, and you feel that what are these Chinese eating, right? But I think that should not be the way to judge. Like, durian is so beautiful. I am sure that most of the Indians would not have had this durian. So I think we should explore more, right?
So,
Yeah.
so Kalathi, I mean, because most of these South Indians have a lot of sense of hygiene in a different manner, and they are like really clean, and they want to keep their surroundings clean. That even going to temple every morning and all of that stuff, with a lot of flowers always around them. So did you find any cultural shock when you moved to China in terms of their eating habits, probably on the table? How are they, behaving, or maybe otherwise?
Yes, ma'am. There are two important things to share, ma'am. One is like when going to the restroom. Actually, the issue is so I feel very uneasy because the smell when you are entering the toilet or restroom. So it's uneasy, and me and my Sri Lankan friends and other friends, they'll say, "What is this, man? Very, very, the smell." Because actually, see, the Chinese, they'll ask, "You are eating right hand." That's our culture. See, every culture have some kind of advantages and disadvantages. We are using through eating our hands is from for the 2,000 3,000 years back, and they say you are eating, you using your hands to eat. And but they have that, they are actually in the toilet, and there's very dirty smell. Actually, we can't enter. And but yes, ma'am, that is one thing. Like using hands, and even many foreigners, they will ask actually how you are using your hands, because we are using spoon or something like that. And second thing is that they will ask about like like marriage system, particularly like how is your arranged marriage system? What is that? Please explain. Like many of my students are even out, like foreigners, they will ask, particularly Chinese, they'll ask, please explain about the arranged marriage. Like male and female don't know each other before, and you are getting marriage, and after that you are living very 40 years or 50 years, something like that. How it is like that? So, and like the durian fruit, ma'am, like like many of the fruits from Thailand, and they are exporting that fruit, ma'am. And actually, their cooking style, it is like the smell is heavy. Actually, but the food is tasty. The food is tasty, healthy actually. But their cooking style, and as you said, like cleaning, that there is no actually very even if you go to like canteen or any places, the cleanness is very not good actually. Like in my experience, even they come to my home, they'll see, hey, it's very like very cleaned, and everything is like looking good, something like that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the kind of hygiene, the concept of hygiene is quite different. I mean, okay, let me tell to the viewers two or three things about it. One of the things about the Chinese and Indian is different in the sense we Indians really prefer our houses to be very clean, tidy. We think about hygiene so much. We want, to cook in a very clean place, especially, I mean, even if you're sitting on the floor, many of them do in South India specifically. We maintain that cleanliness even if we are not bothered about what is happening outside. But for the Chinese, because image, that face is very important. So you will find a lot of cleanliness outside on the roads, on the shops. There would be like really clean shops, and decorated and with lights and everything, glossy stuff. But inside the houses, there would be a lot of chaos. Sometimes it's very dirty, it's smelling. It all depends, because which house you have been. I mean, of course, these things are changing now. Earlier, they didn't even have a toilet or a bathroom in their house, so they were having common toilet or bathrooms in the universities, in the organizations, where they used to take baths in once in a month, or they used to get these coupons to go. The second interesting thing that Kalathi was talking about marriage and everything. In fact, even just few days back, I mean 2-3 days back, again somebody from China had sent me a survey that they are doing about the dowry system in India, which they are very inquisitive about. But if for the viewers, let's give you a view of how China has evolved over a period of time. If you go back to Mao's period, the Mao Zedong, who was the first Chinese president and the well-known leader, he launched this cultural revolution from 66 to 76, 1966 to 1976. And that time, even the word that you love somebody was a taboo. So you couldn't even express your feelings. And I'm sure, Snehal must have read about these. We used to have this literature books, which is called Sushu Thung Thang, like 4 generations in one house, that kind of literature, where, you get the insights about the traditional Chinese who were not even allowed to express their feelings for the other person. Like a man cannot express that he likes a woman or not and wants to get married, and similarly a woman had no choice to express her feelings. But today's China, I mean, after the reform and opening up, and I mean 80s or 90s onwards, there is this kind of a revolution where the parents encourage them to go out and find their own partners. The parents will also let their kids go out, and there are a lot of live-in relationships, and marriage, everything has become very free now. Divorce is becoming more frequent. Within 7 days you can get divorced. So things have evolved in this situation a lot. Let me come back to Snehal itself. Because you have learned the language, now you're teaching the language, and you have been to China and interacted with the Chinese. In terms of the language and in terms of culture, do you have some interesting things that can correlate with their culture, and how does the language really influence the culture that the Chinese really promote?
Okay, so what we learn in India, and in fact, as a course for learning Chinese, what we learn is the Mandarin Chinese, right? So that's the standard dialect that China has. It doesn't mean that it's the only the way Chinese speak. There are different dialects, or what they call as Fangyan. Now, there are many such dialects. So in Shanghai, you can listen to people speaking a bit of different language, that is Shanghai Hua. In Hong Kong and in Guangdong, so you have Cantonese, right? And these are different. These are almost different languages. Even er sense would be different in Hong Kong and Guangdong. But what we learn is the Mandarin dialect, the northern dialect, we can say. And if we think about culture or ethnicity per se, so the Han are the majority people in China. And this language somewhat is the language of the Hans. And so whenever we see this language, we also learned about the Chinese New Year, uh, uh, and also some festivals that are celebrated in China. And uh, what we have learned is that these festivals may not completely depict the picture of China. So in China there are so many minorities. There are this Uyghur people, there are Tibetan people, but I think the Chinese books never talked about Tibetan festivals or the Uyghur festivals per se. So we know about Chunjie, we know about Chungqiu and all, but maybe not about this thing. So this is one thing which I felt. And coming to food also, if we think about food, we have so many proverbs on the food that is prepared during the spring festival. There's fish and so many other things. And but when I traveled in China, I didn't go to west, the province of the autonomous region of Xinjiang, but I did go to Xi'an, and that was the most western part that I visited. And oh, sorry, it was Lancho. I'm sorry. So in Lancho and Xi'an, we used to get those naans. They are typical breads which are very hard, and these are kind of related to Xinjiang. So they are called as naans. But in Chinese cuisine, maybe they do have a place, but in the New Year celebration, I never saw these naans being eaten. So maybe these foods are not the part of this, you can say, Chunche culture, or the main Han culture. So this is another thing. In terms of language, when I was traveling from Lancho to Xi'an, in the train, I met a Chinese person. The Chinese person started talking to me and asking where I was from and all this stuff. So he started in Chinese, so I also responded in Chinese, and then he said, "你是新疆人吗?" So he was asking me, "Are you from Xinjiang?" So I said, "No. Why did you feel that I am from Xinjiang?" So maybe he thought that I am a bit, my complexion is a bit dark, and because Xinjiang people are Muslim people and all, and in fact, their language is not Chinese. So when they learn Chinese language, obviously they will learn like us, and the way we are speaking is much more standardized than their own dialect, which is there in Lancho or in Xi'an. So maybe they felt that they have learned the Chinese, and I am from Xinjiang, I am a Chinese person. Then I told them, no, I am an Indian person. So this is what happens. So they feel that even language differs from place to place. They feel that Xinjiang people can speak much more fluent Chinese than they themselves, because what they speak is the dialect, the Lancho dialect, the Xi'an dialect. So the language changes over there. Even in movies, we can find this. Most of the times, the Mandarin language is written as Kuo-yu, and other languages are written as like the Cantonese is written as Ao-yu. So something like this. There's a difference. So people think that they're not speaking the Mandarin dialect is they are not. They may feel a disconnect, but this is what my opinion is. I feel so.
So for our viewers, I can tell you some things which are related to the language, and where the confusion so many people get is now in China, that is the PRC. You have what they call it as Putonghua, that is the standard Chinese. Okay, and standard Chinese is basically based on the Beijing dialect, that is the Mandarin dialect that they call it as. And other languages that could have been the different languages are now only referred to as dialects. Say, for example, the Cantonese, Snehal is talking about, or even in Shanghai. And there was a lot of revolt, especially in Guangdong, when the standard Chinese was imposed on them, and they said, you have to only study Putonghua in the schools. So it was one Mandarin as a unified language. Even if during the Qin dynasty, that is the old time, there was unification of the script of the Chinese, language, that was the written Chinese, and they have simplified over the years. But that script itself was not the way the Cantonese were spoken, or even the Taiwanese are spoken. And you would find a huge difference when you go from Beijing to Guangdong, or maybe Xinjiang, or even Zhejiang, for that matter, or Shanghai. I mean, the way they used to speak. So if you have learned language here in India, the Mandarin, or you have studied even in China, the Chinese language, proper Chinese language, you cannot make head and tail of what the Sichuan person is speaking, what the a person from Anhui is speaking, when they are speaking their own local dialect, and when they are speaking in Guangdong or Zhejiang or Shanghai. So there is a huge variation. not just in the characters, in the way the sounds are being pronounced, in the way the words are different, and of course, the way they talk to each other. So unless and until, and so Chinese becomes more complex because it's one unified language that is being imposed, that is taught in the schools, that is taught in the universities, that is there in the the prime CCTV 7 p.m. News channels. But when you go down onto the ground and interact with the people, you would find the dialect is so different. I mean, the Tibetans will have a different dialect of speaking the same Chinese, which you can't understand. Something like
Right.
我是中国人，我是北京人. This is standard Chinese. But if I say 阿来上海你, I mean, nobody would understand what you mean. But it is, I'm from China, from Shanghai or something like that. So Kalathi, did
funny. To
please.
talk about a funny incident, actually, I was in Thailand and we had just bought an ice cream, and it was the person was saying 4块钱, 4块钱. But when we gave him the 4 yuan, he's saying 不是 是4块钱. So he's saying 10块钱. So there's a difference in using how I am sure that Thailand would be speaking much standard language, but I think the person was from a different area and he was saying 4块钱. So the pronunciation does change from place to place. So it was 10. Yeah, 10 instead of 4.
Yeah, this social problem is something which we have in India as well. Some of the people from Bihar or other places, they also have this problem of pronouncing sir or sh properly, and which is where you get confused about what is it. But beyond that, also I think the entire word is completely different, right? So like even for ice cream,
it's yat yi sam se yang lak chat pa kau sap. This is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8
absolutely.
9.
Yeah. So standard, I mean, the one you said was from Cantonese language, and the second one is the standard Chinese that you're speaking. Even the vocabularies differ. Like like for example, if ice cream, you used to say shui kao, which is the standard way of saying things, but that is not the way you speak in Liaoning or other places in Northeast Asia where they say nian kao, or some other terminologies, or Ping Chi Ling, which is a standard form. Nobody used to speak Ping Chi Ling as this is the standard Chinese, but everywhere in North, I heard only Shui Kao, and I was like, what is Shui Kao? But that is ice cream. It's the same word, but different. Anyway, so I was moving to Kalathi. Did you also find some interesting things about the language the youngsters speak or the older generation people speak, and how different that you felt when you were communicating with them in terms of the language, because you only learned limited language in India and then you had to speak with them and travel around? How difficult or different it was?
Like when we are talking with our, I teach something in Chinese, like Tamil language and Indian literature, something like that. And my students, they'll discuss actually. And then I listen. Actually, I listen how they are talking. My students, they are from different provinces, from like, Guangdong, like Hanan, like Hubei, like something like that. So their their conversation, I think that, so what is that, which language you are talking? Sometimes I used to ask, and then they said this is like it's a dialect, like this is a dialect of Chinese. And I traveled to Ningxia, ma'am. So Ningxia people, I go to that market. The Ningxia, the people, they are talking like that. That is different pronunciation. Like in our Dravidian language and the Sino-Tibetan language, there are different languages. And we have this very strong pronunciation. And even that also, I used to try to understand their language, but there is like Beijing language and that Ningxia, or like my students, the different provinces, the language is different. So I need more time to understand, and sometimes I goes to like website and search what is the difference between that words and how their pronunciation also, man. So it's like there are different languages, but they will think that they will go with only the Mandarin Chinese. Like 90% of Chinese, they will go with that, Mandarin Chinese, like Putonghua. They will go with that. And upon that, I
Okay.
didn't feel any.
No, you please continue.
Yes, ma'am. Upon that, I didn't feel any, the language barriers or something. But when we are teaching to, like Indian, like Tamil pronunciation, the words, how they are writing, that time, they'll think that, okay, it is different from like Chinese or like other Indian languages. Yes, ma'am.
Even grasping the language, when I heard, I mean, I've seen many of the Chinese, when you teach them certain words or certain sounds like ra or la, they're not able to grasp. Like they can never speak Ravi, they would always speak as Lavi, because they're, I don't know, most of the Chinese would have this problem. It is not about which province or which dialect you are speaking, but generally, Chinese will never be able to pronounce ra. So I don't know whether Kalathi, you face the similar problems teaching them in Tamil, where you have a lot of tongue twisting, in Tamil, the language, and when you were teaching them, how difficult it became for you to teach the students Tamil, sounds and vocabularies, like even speaking Tamil, like the word Tamil, it's Tamil, not Tamil, right? I mean, it's not ta, it's ta. So how does that, come into being?
Yes, like Tamil language. So when I'm teaching like Karam or Tamil, they'll like Tamil or like Tamil or something like that. So that we need more, practice actually. So I used to pronounce more times. Then only they will, grasp that what I'm, teaching, how the pronunciation is correct pronunciation. And then I'll show some like videos and some, the dramas like Tamil drama, something like that. But they are very hard work, and they'll give more, practice. They'll give more practice, and then through their practice, they will, come to the very close pronunciation, the sounds, the close sounds. Yes.
But I think it is also because they are not born multilingual like Indians, that they would not be able to grasp, the language. So, is any phrase like when I studied Tamil, I know that there were 2-3 phrases which I, often caught very closely, so that when I interact with the Tamilians and I have problem speaking something, I say, "Konjo konjo dara puriyo, nalla solla mudiyadu," like those kind of statements. So what were there any, I mean, these means that I can only understand a little bit and I can't speak a lot. So were there any phrases that you felt that the Chinese wanted to, convey, and they learned much faster and they used it very commonly?
புரியும் எனக்கு புரியும். It means like understand. Yes, I understand. And
I understand.
நீங்க பாருங்க, like பாருங்க means நீங்க just look at that. So and there is some words in like Chinese and Tamil, we have similarities, like khan, like our khan means park, like see, like that. So the Chinese word khan and ni. So these all are that, and there are some other words also, some pronunciation, the meaning is similar. So and our Tamil lexicon having nearly 33 words, loan words from Chinese words, like Chinese, the utensils, Chinese glass, something like that. So and these are the historical backgrounds, and the students are like common Chinese. They will know, they will like interested to learn these things, man. So this is not big things to their facing difficulty.
Still, let me go back to something very interesting about the culture and the Confucius thought that influenced the day-to-day life or not. I mean, did you find, how can you decode Chinese mind for us? I mean, what did they dislike or like? How do they see foreigners, or any relation to the Confucius thought in their day-to-day life? Let's decode the Chinese in terms of their culture and their ancient philosophies. Yeah.
Okay, so if we talk about Chinese mind, if we talk about how they think, they are more or less like the Asian. They have the Asian mindset. So Asian also includes us, right? So what I would say is that they would value more value the traditions, customs, their own ways of thinking over material things like money or profit like this. But mostly in close circles, right? So if someone very close to them, very related to them, so in these circles they would value relations and tradition much more over money or other things. But for strangers, I think they won't care that much. And like as I was saying earlier, no, these are some cultural things that I think the shocks for us, where we find the hostels are like there's public bath, and there are these open toilets, so the toilets don't have doors and all, and people in the public baths, people are roaming naked and other stuff is happening, but they don't feel any kind of shame in that way.
Mm.
They in fact use chopsticks to in food and all, but that is something that they feel closeness to. But in
Mm.
terms of certain aspects, like being insulted, or being unable to help someone on a moral this thing, losing face because you did something bad, that is disliked by them. So they will like many things, but these are certain things they will dislike. So they do have influence of this moral teachings of Confucius, of how you behave in certain situations, or but that sense of shame or something which maybe we have is completely different from their sense of shame. So uh, even if we take an example, they do like American lifestyle, I feel. So American or the Western lifestyle, we also would like to go and stay in America and live our lives over there. They also do feel the same way. However, they will still adhere to, or follow their own ideological orientation. This is what I
Mm.
feel. They will never give up their own traditions and their own
Mm.
cultural aspects and all. So this is one thing which I felt. So the impact of Confucianism, or the teachings of Confucius, is very strong, and that I feel has been the backbone of their spiritual sense of being, I feel so.
Actually,
Yes.
I'll add 2 points now. Yes, ma'am. Like
Mm.
particularly about that Confucius thought and Sun Tzu
Mm.
and Lao Tzu, and in that art of war something. Actually, compare like Indian or Tamil, we have the philosophy, very long history, very long
Mm.
tradition, and actually they forgot. Actually, they are only taking from the ancient text only the strategies, how to
Okay.
make money, or how to like go to America. Their first preference is go to America, and
Mm.
there are two options, like Asian student or American student. They'll pick up a American student to make friendship. So
Mm.
they're actually, their mindset, they want to make more money. Even their
Mm.
marriage system, I used to discuss with them. They'll first preference to is a good boy, like our Indian trader is having good moralities, or his behavior is good. Not like that. They think
Mm.
about you are having flat, or you are having that car, or how, where are you going to settle down. So in
Mm.
that sense, uh, the young generation particularly moving to make more money, and
Mm.
actually they are not following only in the textbook, and in front of the libraries there is Confucius statue and other people, very great philosophers. Actually they are not following that words. But our
Mm.
like Tamil people, like we 60 to 70 percentage we follow the uh, ethical ground, or like our philosophical background. Okay, we want
Mm.
don't do that. Like I see many times, like our students or me, like we go to the restaurant, and or like if we have like students also, they will think about even 1 yuan. They'll
Mm.
think about, for example, they are going to buy things. three students, they'll think about like 1 yuan, like we need to share or something like that. So in that sense, they are thinking only money and they want to make more money, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what Snehal was telling is also reflective of how the Chinese diaspora in other countries behave. They are very homogenized in their, or isolated in their living. I mean, I've seen that whether in India or even in US, they would only be having ghettos where they would be interacting with their own people. They would only eat their own food, their own traditional food, rather than getting amalgamated with the other cultures so very easily, which Indians do. I mean, Indians get adapted to the other culture much faster than the Chinese do. And the sense that you are different from them, so that the sense of us versus the others, or me versus the outsider, or insider and outsider kind of a dichotomy, that is very rigid among the Chinese. I mean, for Indians, if they go into a particular culture, into a new place, they try to learn that culture, get adapted much faster than the Chinese do, because Chinese find more proud in their own culture and want to continue with that. And in terms of, I think, Confucius thought, maybe in terms of the hierarchical notions, whether your senior is to be respected or your elders need to be respected, that still continues. I mean, maybe the youngsters are now becoming a little more carefree about all of these notions, but generally they are, because the Chinese are very conservative, and so I think that notion about the hierarchy of who needs to be respected, who needs to be listened, whether in the organization or in the personal life, that still continues. So they will not raise their voice and speak against their elders or their seniors,
Yes.
that is there in the house or there in the organization, sort of thing. That's one of the. But I mean, because Snehal, you have done a lot of deep study on Chinese political thought and the rhetoric, which was also your PhD stuff. I mean, can you give us some insights on how different leaders influence people and how people in China view the leaders now? Because it's not more about Confucianism; it's about the Xi Jinping thought or the Mao's, you know, socialism, with socialism, or Deng Xiaoping's thought. So how does that influence? Can you give you some insights on that?
Okay. So basically, in my PhD, I was studying these rhetoric, Chinese rhetoric, or the different political phrases that the Chinese leadership has used to have a influence over the people. Now, if we compare the democratic countries and China, we most probably would think that China is a very autocratic country or something, and they don't have elections, they don't hold elections. However, even though a single party may be governing the constitutional bodies or the state apparatus in China, there is nothing all over autocratic system in place or something. It is basically the leaders are able to uh, persuade the people that the path that they have used is much a better path for them to reach their ultimate goal of communism. This is what they are trying to achieve through, and the means that they use is, one aspect of this is the language, and the language is where they use different phrases, different simplified phrases, or sometimes certain classics that they quote, and using all this, they try to put up their points. So they try to create that kind of influence and try to achieve their goals. Now, when these goals are achieved, these certain phrases become very catchy, and people then relate those catchy phrases to the success of the leader. Or for example, when Deng Xiaoping became the core leader, he tried to open up China to the rest of the world, and in using so he used the same techniques like Mao used, of we have to continuously, evolve. We have to continuously revolve. Continuous revolution is required. But he did change some things. He also said that we need to be very pragmatic. This is what even Mao said, but in a different way. Mao was trying to promote class struggle, but Deng Xiaoping was trying to, bring the elements of, economic rejuvenation. He wanted to bring out China from poverty and all the problems that China was facing at that time, and therefore he said, "Mo chu shi tou guo he." So, we'll cross the river by touching the stones, and this is gradually how he implemented the policy of reform and opening up. So many things changed and all, and finally it is called as socialism with Chinese characteristics. That means the path of socialism was never changed, but the way things would work from now on would change. That means there would be economic reforms. There would be changes in the economic structure. People would there won't be a much more centralized power structure. It would be, the power would be devolved around among the states and other places. So this is how he tried to change the system, and similarly it has kept on evolving. The system has kept on evolving. China has, according to its own ways, according to its own situation, it has evolved. Now we see that China is much stronger, we can say, economically. So it has much powerful say in many things, even on an international stage. So we see China now trying to dominate the international scene. It is trying to be much more bolder in terms of what it wants the world to be, how it wants the US to behave, not as a, so it will always try to challenge the US notion of, it will always call US as a hegemonic power. This is what is, I think, is happening. And this is where this language also comes into play. I hope this answers the.
So, I mean, you were talking about, you were talking about, how Deng Xiaoping was different from Mao in terms of creating decentralization and, opening up or calling up for reforms and everything. But do you find that present day, President Xi Jinping is going back to, the old ways and trying to convince the people that, yes, the older ideology, because he has also come out with his own book on Xi Jinping thought, like Mao's Red Book, and trying to promote his, thought of socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era to the university students, enforcing them to read and study and everything. So is it like they are going back to their own thoughts, or they're continuing with the reforms and everything, yet maintaining ideological ground of Mao time?
Right. So, what my personal opinion is about this is that once Deng Xiaoping had opened up China, there were many changes that happened in China. So, however, Deng Xiaoping has time and again made it clear that the Chinese political system is not what should be the not like the Western political system. It should be Chinese. So we see many things happening in Chinese history. But then what is happening right now is that even during Hu Jintao's period, where people were, there was a lot of, you can say, political reforms in the way the state was functioning. So the state was trying to put one, single window problem solving mechanisms. Like they used to say that there are certain ways that you put forward your grievances and the state would solve them. But what they did was they said that you can raise the issues unofficially and we'll try to solve them directly. So how do you put forward those issues? Yeah, you have protests, you have social media, so many things like that. So this is what was allowed by the leaders like Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao. But later on, what is happening is that we see when we open these things up as we see in many democracies, things can get chaotic, right? And one thing that the Chinese, I think, don't like is chaos. They want everything to be well managed and all. So Xi Jinping might be bringing that kind of a well managed structure back, and that is what maybe we can call as old culture, like the Confucian culture or something like that, which was well managed, in fact, politically, administratively. But to say that Xi Jinping is completely doing away with what Deng Xiaoping had done, decentralization, I feel that he might be trying to, show a very strong tone, but he won't be able to change what Deng Xiaoping brought. Why the Chinese would not accept going back on reforms, right? So there, Xi Jinping may have to find a balanced approach to this, more inclining towards Deng Xiaoping's policies rather than going to the Mao era back. Right? I don't think most Chinese would prefer going back to the Mao era.
So what is the sense that you give from the Chinese social media? I mean, from the Chinese, Gen Zs or whatever? I mean, what sense are you getting of the society of China now?
Uh, uh, if we actually, the problem we face is that Chinese social media is really very problematic to access. But whatever I have seen is that first, let me make it very clear that the Chinese have their own versions of social media platforms. Like we have in the world, we have Facebook. All over the world, we can use Facebook, WhatsApp. But in China, the Chinese people tend to use WeChat, which is blocked in India. They try to use this. A version of Facebook Ranwen Wang, but now I think it has been scrapped. They have Weibo, which is the Twitter-like thing in China. So Chinese social media has, we see that it had become very active, and it is still very active. The thing is that whatever feedback they do get from this social media, even if it is criticizing the government, uh, it may not be entirely like the government does take many things from that, and they can in fact improve their policies. They can refine their policies so that the people are satisfied with all this. So people have become much more bolder, in fact. And there are things. One is about improving upon the domestic policies and all, but rather also in terms of international interaction or the international expressions. Now Chinese have become much more bolder than in the past. Like if we talk about the India-China conflict that happened recently, they had this video of Sikhs, the airplane crashing in Pakistan and something. So they made a song about India and trying to humiliate India. So they are trying such tactics. It has become a much bold affair, and it has increased, in fact, over the period of time.
So you find it's still an aggressive posture that they are coming out with, and the video that you're talking about is basically the Chinese were dressed in Sikh costume, and they were praising about the F-16 which was crashed, and they were saying that no, it is not the F-16. The Chinese, Pakistanis have been successful in crashing the Rafale. Right, and they made the entire.
But in fact, this may not be an official kind of a narrative, but we find it on social media, so we never know what kind of powers are behind it or something. We never know.
Yeah, because I mean, China is a very controlled system. Since from the day they have created this great firewall, their entire internet or social media is controlled by many people, which some people also called Mao. Like they were given just 5 Mao, which is like peanuts, for every post that they scrutinize or delete or whatever. So there was a huge army of youngsters who were deployed to check all the things that are posted and immediately stop. And now they've got these AI systems or agents which track down on certain taboo vocabularies like Tiananmen or Dalai Lama or Tibet. So these are tracked much faster than other things, and they can only stop that. But let me go to Kalathi, because when we are talking about Xi Jinping as a leader, I mean, we also have something very interesting that happened between our Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping. Was the first Wuhan summit, and then the Mambalipuram. Now, Mambalipuram was something which I heard that the Chinese were quite interested in having the visit to Mambalipuram rather than to Gujarat, the second visit of President Xi Jinping. And the Chinese showed a lot of interest in going to South India. So, what is the reason that the Chinese were quite interested in South India, and what attracts them in terms of South India, that they want to learn? I mean, you were teaching Tamil there. They want to learn Tamil language. They want to, do business in with South India, and even the president wanted to go to Mambalipuram rather than Gujarat or any other northern city or eastern city. I mean, what is that you feel that the Chinese are interested in South India, and what is that correlation that you would want to derive from?
Yes, ma'am. Like our President Xi Jinping visited with our Prime Minister Modi ji in Mahabalipuram. Actually, I published an article also, ma'am. Like in
Okay.
Xuanzang in 7th century, when Pallava dynasty ruled, South India, the Xuanzang visited Kanchipuram. That time, like Kanchipuram is like dynasty, Pallava dynasty's capital. So Xuanzang visited Kanchipuram, and he elaborately discussed about the religion, people, and geography of the Kanchipuram, and food, everything. And in his documents, he said that like Jain, Buddhist people, and Vaishnav, and Shaiva, all people, and they are having that the schools of thought, and they are discussing, and they are fighting, and we say like good fighting with them in that philosophical work. And in that sense, even our colleagues, in Chinese, and they'll think about, and that Sangha 13th century visited Cochin, and in Sri Lanka also there is some inscription like sculpture, and Chinese, Tamil something, and Tamil Nadu also we found 7th century we found one sculpture that is some Tamil words and Chinese words, and I showed you also. So in that historical background, particularly the Chinese people, they choose particularly South India. And another thing is that comparatively, like North Indian, South Indian, I said when we started the discussion also, there are some kind of soft, the notion about South Indian. South Indian, they are very polite, and that food, and comparatively they are that very clean, the places, something like that. So in that sense, Xi Jinping visited particularly that the Coromandel, of course, like Mahabalipuram, and that time even that whole Tamil Nadu, and we are that scholars talk about, and there we dig about what are the historical connections. Why presidents choose particularly like Tamil Nadu, like Mahabalipuram. So in that historical background, that like Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi ji, visited, like particularly have discussion on 2000, I think 20, I think they visited 28. Yes, ma'am. I finished.
No, so I mean, one of the things which I really want to tell to our audience is about, say in 2005, Vanja Pao visited India, and that was a time when both the leaders were advocating about moving away from border problems and trying to build up economic and trade relations, right? And 2005, the entire emphasis of the Chinese was on our what we call it as a Silicon Valley, basically, or Bangalore, right? They were very impressed about how our software industry was really doing much better than the Chinese, and they wanted to learn a lot from there, because they could produce hardware. They had all the uh, investments and factories that were established in China, and they were producing good hardware, but software was one area in which they were lagging, right? And they wanted to really learn from South India, and because they also relied, many of the South Indians had gone to American Silk Valley, where they have been flourishing and developing a lot of these softwares. The Google head Pichai is also from South India, and that notion that the minds of the South Indians are very good in creating the future technologies or the future development was one of the interests where they wanted to have economic and trade relations with India. And that has continued today, because now when the Chinese have already excelled in their AI technologies, and they are doing, they're bringing like DeepSeek, and Huawei technologies are moving faster. That the sense or the focus was very, very clear, and that is the notion. But let me get back to Kalathi on terms of the historical connections of Changha's voyage. I also think that that was where from some South Indian places that they moved, and you said you have been to even Shaolin. So did you find any those historical cultural connections between India and China? Can you give us some details about that? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Like there are like very that Changha visited that the Malabar coast, like presently
Yes.
Cochin, and then Kochi people actually the Tamil, and like I know like that thoda sa like Malayalam se bolta hai, like they'll now also they are saying that word Chinawala, the Chinese net. I mean, even the Chinese, my friends visited that place. They said that this is brought from 13th century, that Mongol dynasty, that Changha visited that place, and he helped that to make that the Chinese net to get that fish. And like I visited, like I said that even in 2011, I don't know Hindi also. I visited Taj Mahal, like taking that train and go to that Uttar Pradesh, Agra city, and then go to that state. Even that Chota Mota, the Hindi is this is Jayagam. Same like that, like visited Beijing in 2016. With the 3 months, just 3 months, I visited the Shaolin Temple, Henan province. I don't know even very fluent Chinese. Comparatively, then I visited to that place, and get train and go to that bus, the common the bus, and go to that Shaolin, that province, like Hanan province. And when we are moving the like near to 4 to 5 hours, we need to get that mountain. Actually, we need to walk. And through my walking and journey, I visited some Chinese, and I get some friends also. He's an old person, like nearly 40 to 50 years old person, and we are like we have that friends, and he guided me to get that Shaolin temple. And then we visited like some other areas also, and we both had lunch. And that's a very new person, but he helped, and he said that. And in that small cave, that is like Bodhidharma was 11 years, I think 11 years, he took he stayed that mountain. And I'm very surprised that there is no historical relations about Kanchipuram. Like our historians, we claim that Bodhidharma from Pallava dynasty third son, and he went to like China, like Hanan, Shaolin, and he started to teach Chinese that that martial art, something like that. And and that there is only one inscription, like sculpture in that near that cave, that also, that saying that Bodhidharma from South India, South Indian person visited to the Shaolin. And that's all. Even their website, and then went their website, and that limited, they are showing that about the Bodhidharma's background and historical history. There are limited histories only they are showing, but but they know that he is from South India, and he's a black kind of structure, and he's long hair, something like that. Yes, this Changha and Bodhidharma, there are two different persons, but they are strong foot on both China and like particularly South India.
So, I mean, because you also taught Tamil to the Chinese, I mean, did you find that, this language itself could be a bridge, like Tamil or Chinese, could be a bridge between the two, civilizations, or there is any connect historically that we can, relook at?
Yes, ma'am, yes, that's true. That's true. When we are, the like they have started the Tamil program in Beijing, like Beijing Foreign Studies University. They choose particularly not like Tamil because of the historical background, and they want to make before that 8 years or 10 years back, the Hindi language program was started, and they want to choose like particularly Tamil because of the historical and trade relations. And our historians also they said about we have very good trade relations in even BC second century. So like all these historical backgrounds that the Chinese official they choose Tamil language. And CRI like I'll add point like CRI 1960 or 70s they started China Radio International. They started Tamil program, and the Tamils they have sending letters, and they are praising the Chinese, and we have the good relation. So all these things they are started the Tamil program, and we hope that this is like very a strong bridge between the Chinese and Tamil.
So,
Yes.
did you find any problem, when you interacted with the senior officials of the, the university, and engage with them in terms of, designing the curriculum, or pushing certain courses the way that you want to teach, or certain notions that you want to teach about India, any cultural aspects? Was there any problem that you faced, or any challenges that you faced in doing so?
There are not much like challenges, ma'am. Even we used to talk with our dean and our
Mm,
vice president, and I presented paper in Ningxia about like Tamil and Chinese relations and translation. So
mm,
they are very very good to talk, and they know whenever we met them, they'll ask about some like historical or some cultural things about like India. But it will be common. They'll ask about India. And syllabus making also we will focus on Tamil like philosophy like Tiruvalluvar, epic, and modern literature and something like that. There's no challenges or difficulties when we are making the syllabus or teaching this Tamil.
Okay, let me go back to Snehal, and maybe just pose some few last questions about how do you think the Chinese view Indians, and their understanding about India. We know that they know a little bit about the Bollywood, now of course Tollywood, and some serials which are becoming very common. TV serials, Indian TV serials which have become like Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi and all of that stuff. But in general, what is your impression about the Chinese? How do they see Indians, and how do they understand India particularly? And do you find there is any gap in understanding between the two people that we really need to bridge? And are there any suggestions on that? Yeah.
Well, how the Chinese view Indians is a bit complicated thing. When we think in terms of the culture, right? We have already seen that. Even my experience was that the Chinese were very, fascinated by Indian culture, and the movies, the songs, the dance that they see and listen to. And in fact, this is the thing that they love. And coming to the earlier, the observation that I made about the video that was attacking the Sikh community using the Punjabi song, the Bhangra song. We see that when these politically we do not uh, match ourselves, or we do not we are politically not in calibration. We find that these certain elements, a small section in Chinese society, we can say, these elements try to malign that cultural thing for India.
Mm,
So
mm,
what happens is that they are, firstly, it is obviously insulting the other country, that is one thing to attack. Another thing is that it tries to make the impact or the influence of Indian culture on Chinese. They try to reduce that kind of a culture. So what I feel is that the problem actually lies in our political differences. What I feel. So maybe what we need to work upon is solving these political issues or the border issues that are there, and both sides need to, the problem is that both sides don't understand each other. Why India chose the democratic path or the British way, but it is being governed by our Indians itself. And Indians also maybe don't understand completely why China chose the communist path. But what we can see in history is that both the countries, both Chinese and Indians, were being oppressed by the Western powers, and they face similar problems in history. And the only difference that both the countries have is the political path that they have chosen. When they became nation states, they chose different ways of managing the country, and this is where I feel that both Chinese and Indians maybe have a kind of a problem, the gap that lies here. And I think as China scholars, we need to fill in this gap. We need to make the other understand our concerns, our mentality or our way of thinking, and we also need to understand their way of thinking. They should be also able to make themselves understandable. They have to make it simplified for us to understand what they think or this way. So for this, I think we need to first learn the language. Language learning is very important, both the countries. And for us, it may be much easier because we could learn a script, the Chinese script, and we can understand most parts of China. For them, it's a bit difficult because we have so many languages that are dominant in our country. So for them, even if Hindi is there even if they learn Hindi as a national language, they may not understand the entire whole of India. So maybe we ourselves can make a step towards this.
So, Kalathi, let me ask you the same question. I mean, what are the challenges of friendship or closeness with the Chinese, or what are the steps that we need to take in terms of having that understanding between the two countries?
Like basically, person like Indian or Chinese. When we are talking about the relationship, we have that historical, that some kind of the evidences we have 1962 or before that. But before, like Chini Hindi bye bye, like we are like both brothers, like in 1947 in that freedom. So in that sense, we want to make like actually both both Asian giants like China and India. We need to make a strong relationship in a cultural way. Like we need to share more, like the students, and we have a more like kind of conference or the seminars. And I think that there is no kind of the problem between us, like because of the border. but but in my mind, like we will have very good or like very the good relationship with the Chinese. It's very important for us, and both like the Chinese also, they feel like that. Yes, ma'am.
So from my understanding, I think there is one thing that we need to understand about India China, the way the popularism works, the way nationalism is now taking root, is about the traditional understanding of India. I mean, there are two broad understandings I would put India into. One is where the Britishers were there on the on the eastern coast of China. They were trying to exploit them, or at least suppress them. They were kind of our Sikh community soldiers were deployed there. And so in Shanghai, when these Sikh community soldiers were there was entire notion of these policemen being you know um, called as asan, which is a very derogatory term of putting them in the third layer or the underworld kind of society. And the other totally opposite kind of vision that comes from the Buddhism, and basically from Tibetan, the scripts, and where India is projected as Tianju, the heaven sort of thing, under the a very very glorious, very knowledgeable society or civilization which is flourishing, which needs to give them a lot of input. So when you see in the social media today, I find there are these two very stark realities that come out into play. Those who are liking India, they would be you know pleasing India, praising India in many ways. They would be appreciating many things about India. They would be use terms like Tianchu and uh, sort of a heaven on earth kind of a description of India. But when they want, when there is a border clash, where there is, as Snehal was saying, a political, disagreement on certain issues, then the entire social media would be flourished with this, very derogatory ways of looking at Indians, talking about them as Asan. You are doing this. You are trying to be expansionist or a hegemonic power, or you are trying to exploit and trying to dominate. All these notions will evolve. But in all of this, as Snehal rightly pointed out, and even Kalathi was saying, that there is a huge gap between an understanding of how we understand China and how Chinese understand us. Also because of our people exchanges have been very limited. I mean, hardly few thousands travel to China, and hardly few hundreds of thousands come to India. And I don't know how difficult it is going to be in future, unless and until we let these people move in and out and know where the problems lie. Because if you have to understand China, you have to link with the Chinese. You have to be understanding, get into the community, the civilization, the culture. Even if the Chinese are very very isolated, they do not welcome the outsiders to be a part of their community, which is the tough challenge. So for Chinese to understand India um, is difficult, but for the Indians to understand Chinese is going to be equally difficult, Snail, because I mean, they would not welcome the Indians to be a part of their community so very easily. Even if we are now seeing certain, cross-border marriages happening, and they're increasing, relatively, and there's a lot of business which is taking place. So maybe the business can be one angle where we can relate with the Chinese, but I think beyond business, we have already started to open many of these business. We also need, cultural understanding between these two civilizations, so as to
Yes.
create a much more harmony in the Asia. With this thought, any last words that you want to add, and we'll end.
Well, to supplement to what you were saying, yes, definitely, we need to understand their culture, and I feel that this language would be the thing that would help us bridge the gap, because through language we can understand their culture and we can be a part of their way of living, and that can help create that kind of a link. Basically, what I have seen is that as of now in India, we are unable to have any kind of contact. Many things are banned, and language learning the language or understanding new things that are emerging out of China has become a big, a very difficult. Also, there are many less people in India who are trying to create content about India in Chinese. This is one thing,
Yeah.
because what I felt was that in when I went to China, most people thought that I was a Muslim, and they don't know anything about the Hindus over here, like the majority religion that is there in India. They don't know about our festivals. They don't know about what exactly our gods mean. And this is one thing that maybe it will help them understand that we are not the ones who are trying to trying to be very hurtful to them or something. In fact, we would rather prefer a lot of peaceful interactions and peaceful neighborly relations with them rather than having to be a hegemon in the area. So why they don't trust us is because they don't understand our culture. This would be the main thing, and therefore maybe we need scholars, Chinese scholars, to translate our things, our culture, our traditions into Chinese, and try to make the Chinese understand our feelings, how peaceful we are, right? Maybe this is a positive step that we can try to bridge the gap.
Any
Like
last
in my
comments,
mind,
Kalathi? Yeah.
yes, ma'am. In my mind, like we should each respect in a cultural, language, literature, or in historical way. Like while I'll just say one incident. Like in 2016, we have the demonetization. I think I remember. I'm right. So when we are traveling in that Beijing metro, in the TV they are showing that our Indians, we are having long queue to the ATM or bank to get that money. So and the Chinese, they within them they think that okay, what is how see the Indians, their demonetization and they don't have money to buy things, fruits, vegetables, something like that. So in that mindset, we also having, like like Indian also we are thinking that the Chinese like that. But we should have very strong, as you said, that is very strong, language, cultural or literature. We should have that bridge only makes that there is no difference between that Indians or Chinese, and we should respect each other, and then we'll focus on the growth, like you said. Like many of my friends also asking about business with Chinese. We want to export that iron, or like some materials from Chinese. Like we want to make more good relationship with Chinese. So same Chinese also, they are like more like drumstick they like, and that some Indian, the materials they like it actually. So according to that, we want to focus on 21st century. We need a strong relationship, and then we just forget about like who is big brother or small brother. And even we have that past experience, but we stop all the things and we will think about the developments, and we are we know the world's developing economy. So when I started journey in 2011, like you I don't have any knowledge about the Chinese literature, language, and culture, and you have a great help, guidance throughout my journey from 15 years, last 15 years. And like ICS Professor Alka ma'am, and like many people like you, many people, you give this knowledge. And I'm, like we need to, like you and Professor Alkamam said that Kalathi, you are having the good the area Tamil and Chinese. So you should make more or strong, the connects, or like understand more about their culture and your culture, and then write more articles on something that. So in that area only we will have very good relation with Chinese and Tamil and Indians. Thank
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with what Kalathi is saying, but also want to highlight what Snehal has said. We need lot of material about India, about our religion, about our culture in Chinese language, so as to cater to them, so that they understand what our culture is, what our language is, what is Indian society, how we live more peaceful, and compassion is in our blood, those kind of notions. Because Chinese do not have religion, they do not understand the sense of gods and everything. We have not talked that in detail, maybe in the next time we will do. And to our viewers, it was an interesting discussion. I'm sure you enjoyed this. We are going to have another video about the military aspects of it. Please keep a watch on this channel. Do subscribe to our channel, like our channel, and you will get many more interesting videos that would come in future. And if you have certain interests that you want to know about, there are certain topics that you want us to talk about, you can always put that in the comment box, and we would be very happy to bring those people who know that knowledge and would want to share on our channel. Thank you very much, and namaste to everyone, and thank you to Dr. Snehal and Dr. Kalathi for joining us today and giving us time to explore China in the real sense, how we experience China, how you experience China, what you know about China. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you.